Don't change who you are, but know who you are. Know who you are and what you want, what you'll tolerate and what you won't tolerate. Know your standards and your morals and stand on that. Even if it means, like you said before, we were talking about if you have to leave or shift.
Today, I have with me the amazing Daniella Young to discuss how we can confidently navigate our leadership journeys while staying true to who we are. Welcome to the show, Daniela.
Hi, Belinda. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you on. Okay, so I want to know a little bit more about your professional journey. Can you tell me and the listeners what inspired you to step into leadership? And how has your identity as a minority woman really shaped your leadership style?
Sure. Yeah. I would say that it was like this fire inside of me. I remember graduating from college and just knowing that what I was doing wasn't enough. I was like,
Right.
there's more for me, there's more to me. I knew that I saw people out there leading and doing things that I knew I was capable of doing. And so I really was just wanting to put myself out there, wanting more out of life, wanting to get my wanting to put my education into a role. And so once I saw an opportunity to be able to lead in a bigger and a higher capacity, I was like, this is me. Like this is me. This is what I feel good about. And this is what I felt like the direction that I wanted my life to go in. So it was just something I feel like that it's a fire inside. It's something where you just cannot settle with where you're at, but you're just craving for more. And I was like, I just want more. I want more. And I never let myself get complacent where I was. And even though it bothered other people that I wasn't satisfied with the status quo, I didn't let that stop me. I was determined to make my dreams happen. And I'm still fighting to do that today. But it's a one step at a time, but I really think it was just a fire inside of me that I'm like, I've got to do this. Otherwise, I'm just not gonna be happy. So that's kind of the journey and the path that led me to this and wanting to lead in a bigger capacity in my corporate life.
I love that. And I think what you said resonates so much with leaders, right? Overall, like it's an innate thing, like
Yes.
not being able to sit back and just listen to what other people say. It's not rebellious, right? There's just something about like just wanting to lead and wanting to shape direction. And oftentimes it means, you have that vision, you have that drive to see something, commit to it and go forward. So I hear you. I completely agree with what you're saying. So could you tell us a little bit more about what authentic leadership means to you?
Sure. I think authentic leadership has to do with being authentically yourself, but having integrity, being transparent, accepting your weaknesses, but not letting that determine or stop you. I think it's about being genuine and having those connections with people and really embracing everything about you and the essence of who you are. I think it's important that you have to know who you are and able to be authentic, like, right? You don't know if you're just trying to pick up what other people think or they're labeling you as, you're never gonna be authentic. Now, I think that it's important that none of us are perfect and we all don't have it 100%, but honing into those weaknesses and letting them propel you to be better is what's make you authentic, right? We're all learning, we're all growing, but if you can't be your genuine selves and find that connection with people that make you you, then it's not gonna you're gonna be like everyone else coming into the room. So, like, I can be bubbly, I can be, excited, I could be dramatic a little bit sometimes, but at the same time, that's what makes me me. That's what's helped me land the business or get the job, my passion, my drive. All of that is what's helped me and shaped me to be authentic and be myself.
You hit on something that I just absolutely love. You said that to be authentic, you have to know yourself.
You do.
And that's a self-discovery journey that some people don't lean into enough, I feel like. And sometimes it's when they're much older in life, but really and truly that self-discovery and being willing to take that journey is what I think I hear you saying leads a little bit to peace and happiness, but also is the first step for you to lead authentically, right?
It was. It's definitely the first step because I feel like, of course, especially with us women and being a minority, it's difficult because when you're, and then even being young, I'm one of the youngest people in my craft. People want to label you and tell you who you are, how you should be, how you should look, the way you should do it. And if you're constantly listening to everyone else's opinion and everyone's label of you, then you're never going to be able to find yourself in this business or even in this world. And so it's important to take those things, but not let them shape you and determine who you are, because you can't be authentic if you're only just taking on the labels of everyone else. And so it's really important that you find your voice early on, especially in your career, because if you don't, then you're going to be constantly, flying off the walls because you're like, who am I? What are people saying about me? And that's going to be your drive. And that you can't find happiness in that when you're constantly relying on other people to validate who you are. You have to know that on your own.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And, one of the things that I was thinking about is just the fact that we spend so much of our time, our life at work, right?
Yep.
And so if we can't be authentic there, it can just wear on us so much mentally, right? So there's, like you said, the first step in understanding even who you are, but being willing to express it. And I like the fact that you said, you can draw on some things that other people share with you, and that might be through feedback, and you refined yourself overall. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to stay true to who you are, right? Guys, we
Absolutely.
spend so much of our life at work. We need to
We
be
do. We do. I completely agree.
well, can you share a pivotal moment when you had to choose between leading authentically and confronting expectations?
Yes, and I actually can think of a specific situation. I was in a moment in time where it was a change in, maybe say a changing of the guards. My direct supervisor was leaving the company
Mhm.
and he was over me. And I was trying to figure out if I was satisfied in my role or am I going to go after his job now? Because I felt like that there was so much potential and I, was learning from him for years. And I'm like, you know what? I think it's my time to figure this out and go for his role. And I was met with so much resistance. I mean, people that I didn't even think, were paying me attention, were paying me attention. And we're like, why weren't you satisfied where you are? Like, aren't you happy in your role? We didn't know you were unhappy. That's the number one thing that, you hear when you're trying to transition and do different. Like, we didn't know you were unhappy. Like, I don't have to be unhappy to want to change certain things in my life or advance in my career. And so even though I was met with a lot of resistance, I was like, you know what? I want this. I'm
Mhm.
ready for this. I've been groomed for this. And so even without a lot of the support from my peers that I were with me the whole time, I went after it and I got it. And I ended up becoming the director of sales and opening a five-star hotel. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I want. And I didn't let the crowd or people determine what I thought was right for my life, and I'm just so thankful that I went off of my instincts instead of letting, like, everyone and all the noise, stop me. But it's so crazy how when you're trying to elevate,
Mhm.
oftentimes the people that are with you are not always the happiest for you. As long as you're the status quo and as long as we're all on the same level, it's fine. But once you start elevating and you start taking people's jobs and you
Yeah.
start, doing certain things, you get a different type of attention. But I did it. And I'm so glad I did. And I didn't let that determine, what I wanted for my life.
Well, there's just so much that you are really unpacking in this. So there was your determination going after, but even peeling back the layers a little bit more to be that determined, you had to not let the voices of others or
Yes.
any possible internal voice stop you.
Right.
Right? And
Right.
so one of the things that I'm hearing is that you moved past any possible limiting beliefs, right?
Yes.
And you were willing to ruffle some feathers from peers in order to go after something that you really wanted. And
Yeah.
so, fam, you guys listening, I hope you hear this. It's okay to step out, right? Even when you haven't been in that type of role before, or you haven't been in that type of leadership, position, it's okay to step out and go for what you want, right? No
Yeah,
one's going to be 100% ready for the opportunity, but it's okay to take a chance, right? And I'm sure even in that process, if you hadn't gotten the role, I'm sure there would have been something that you could have learned that would have prepared you for the next time because there's going to be another opportunity, right? So thank you
absolutely.
so much for sharing that with us.
Sure, absolutely. And I think it's important, like you said, a lot of times if we don't have those external voices, it's the internal voices like, am I qualified? Am I good enough? And what I've realized in life is that it's okay to hear those voices, digest it, all of that, but don't let that stop you. You know, we all have
Mhm.
insecurities. We all have questions in our mind. Are we qualified? Are we good enough? Is my resume good enough? Do I know? And, you know, some of those things, like you said, we might have to acknowledge, like, yes, I need to brush up on this. I could do this better. But don't let that stop you or determine or, you know, deter you from going after it. Like, try it. Interview. I'm like the interview queen. I will go on an interview because everything I'm doing is making me sharper for the next time. Like you said, if I didn't get the job or didn't get that role, it's making me sharper for the next time. So practice makes perfect. But I think it's okay because sometimes people are like, "Well, how do I shut off the noise and how do I" sometimes you can. Sometimes it's the reality of where you are, and it's scary. It's scary to step out there, to put yourself out there, and to be bold about what you want. Because when
Mhm.
you do that and you ask for it and you don't get it, you know, you have all these fears, but it's okay. Like, step out there, ask for what you want, go for the interview, and try to get it. Tackle it.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I have practiced myself and also the staff that I've led has been never tell just this mantra of never tell yourself no. Like,
Really.
always it's always try, and if someone else tells you no, then okay, like, you take
Right.
the feedback and you run with it, but never be the one to prevent the opportunity, if that makes sense, right?
No, true,
So, tell
100%.
yourself yes, and then allow the chips to fall where they may, right?
Mhm. That's really good.
No, I love that. Well, how do you stay grounded in your values while navigating different challenges in leadership? Especially
Sure.
for young people.
I know. I think the number one thing is that your community. You have to surround yourself with people that when you're doubting or when your coworkers or things like that, you need a community of people that are like, no, you need to do this. Go for it. It's okay if you fall. It's okay, you know, whether it's a friend, whether it's family. I've had a supportive husband, my mom, my sister. I have just a supportive community around me that, you know, even when I'm second guessing myself, or things I never even thought of for myself, um, they help me, propel me, and push me. And my husband is also in corporate America, so he definitely we share a lot of experiences. And even though he doesn't know what it's like to be in my shoes as a minority female, he knows how to navigate a little bit too. So I'm like, okay, what does this mean from this perspective? Or what do you think about this? Or what did he mean when he said that? You know, he's a man, so I'm like, what kind of, you know, was that? And so I think surrounding yourself with the community, whether it's a good group of girlfriends, whether it's, you know, your family, it really matters because I've learned to get my self-esteem when I couldn't find who I was with for myself. I got it from them. You know, they're like, Daniela,
Mhm.
you can do it. You can do it. Push for it. Go for it. Do it. So that's definitely one. And of course, I would say my faith. You know, I wouldn't even have the confidence, um, you know, to move forward and do a lot of these things without my faith. And being grounded, is really important, you know, to me. So I think that it's very important. If you don't have a community, make sure you get a community of people that are rooting for you. You need
Abs
cheerleaders on your side. So
absolutely. Cheerleaders, they're rooting for you to expand, not just be comfortable
yes.
where you are.
Correct. Correct. You don't want yes men or yes women. You want someone that's gonna challenge you, but also support you. Because I feel like a lot of times we don't have that support. We don't feel, you know, we don't feel that. And we're, you know, and like you said, we spend a lot of time at work where they're demanding and like, do this, do that. It's not good enough. Do that, you know. So you need those people that are like, you know what, that was good. Or
Mhm.
you know, they don't, you know, they're tripping or this is that. Like you need someone that's supporting you.
Absolutely. And, as you were talking, one of the things I thought about was earlier on because really at any age, right? We want you to be able to go after your goals and to achieve the different things that you want in life. But there's something about being a young leader or before you step into your first leadership role where I think mentorship is so key.
It is.
And as you were talking, I was just thinking about how important it was for me to have good mentors.
Yeah,
So I could see by example how they were leading
yes.
authentically and even in challenging me. So hopefully, those that are listening, you have someone maybe at work or maybe a peer organization. I'm not a competitor, but a peer organization.
Well,
Um, or another environment that of professionals that can help expand you and stretch you in different ways. Because as I reflect back, I learned a lot of good lessons from that mentor. So yeah, I love that, Daniela.
I think that's really good too about the mentor because, like you said, I've gotten mentors from people at work that I didn't even expect would even
Mhm,
or even thought that they would make me take an interest in me. And so I think it's really important to be open because sometimes you see certain people and you're like, I want that person to be my mentor, or ooh, they're really, they're flashy, they have all the things. And
mhm,
and I ended up having like this little older lady who was like, let me show you, how to do this. And I'm like, "Oh, and, she was patient and kind, so I think it's mentorship is important, and but don't get so caught up in, like, it has to be this person with all these followers and this, oftentimes the best lessons learned are from the people that sometimes are even overlooked, and they actually have a lot of experience, and they're willing to invest in you and take the time. Sometimes
mhm.
those flashy ones don't have the time to, invest and mentor you, so I think that that's a really important thing because, like you said, along the way, so many people have helped me and took interest in me that I didn't even think were paying me any attention or paying me any mind. So you're right. Mentorship is really important.
Well, how do you navigate situations where cultural expectations or workplace dynamics clash with your authentic self?
Sure. I think this is the constant struggle all the time. I think it's hard to to navigate sometimes, like you said, number one being younger, and number two being a minority. And I've learned how to really just hone in on who I am and just to stand on that, not let other people determine how I'm gonna be or how I'm gonna act. And I feel like it's something that's daily. It's a depending upon what company you're at or depending upon where you're at, sometimes your voice is really valued and sometimes it's not. But I think showing up every day and giving your best self and being who you know to be is the only way to continue to be able to be authentic in these places that maybe it's not always accepted. You've got to show up,
Mhm,
even if it's uncomfortable, even if you feel like there's no point, even if you feel like people are not listening to you, you can show it through your work, through your diligence, through accepting and owning yourself and owning your weaknesses. But I think it's the most important. You just have to show up because again, we've all been in rooms where our voices seem to not matter or they're looking over you or they're like, oh, she wouldn't know or things like that. And before you know it, if you keep showing up and being diligent in who you are and in your work, it will speak for itself.
and
Before you
so
know it, you're going to be that respected person at the table. It takes time. Like you can't get frustrated in the process. I remember being frustrated, and being like, "When is this gonna be my turn? And why do they not think I have anything to say?" And I just let my work speak for itself.
I love that, what you're talking about in terms of showing up again and again, and allowing people to see the value of your work over time and really bring you to the table. The other thing that I will say is sometimes you might just need to shift organizations. I'm not saying a jump shift after like a month or so, you know what I mean? Like, but after a while, if you keep getting looked over, might just time to leave.
Belinda,
And
you are
so
hitting the hammer on the nail because listen, I am a component of leaving to get what you want if you are not valued. And, I know that people have said to me before, like, oh my gosh, you don't stay with company. And, millennials they're saying that anyways, and most millennials aren't staying at job for more than 2 years. But I feel like you said, if an organization is not valuing you after time, we don't there's plenty of options out here. And I think it's okay to change. I know gone are the days where we're staying at companies for 40 and 50 years. Like if you see something and an opportunity that's going to better suit you and better fit you, and you're leaving your job every day or your environment and you're frustrated, that's not the goal.
Mhm. Mhm.
Of course. So I think, yeah, that's important to talk about because, we're not stuck. There's a lot of options out here, and you want to go where you feel valued.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to bring that you brought up the old way of thinking in terms
Mhm.
of staying at companies for a really, really long time. Because you're gonna have people at companies that have those perspectives, and sometimes they're in supervisory positions, sometimes they're in other leadership positions, sometimes they can be your peer. But it's gonna be really important to find a supervisor who is willing to let you elevate and not just be like, "I have the star underneath me, but, I'm just gonna keep her at this level because she's only been here 5 years or 2 years," or whatever the case might be.
Mhm.
And, um, it that thought just took me back to, I'm thinking about the same mentor, shout out to her, I need to send her this video when it's aired when it airs. Um, but I had a mentor, who, there was an opportunity on the table for me to go to a position, and she was like, "Belinda, I really want, you to work with me. I know we work well. I know you do a wonderful job, but it's in your best interest to go to that company." And
Wow.
I
Wow.
have always valued her for
That's
that.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's
where she's
great.
like, "I'm willing to let you go because I know you're gonna shine there, you'll shine here, but that will be a great stepping stone for where you ultimately wanna go, and I'm
That's
willing to let you fly, and cheer you on in the process," right? And that's
incredible. You don't find a lot of mentors like that or anything. People are very selfish and they're willing to do things that benefit them, even if it hurts you. And that's absolutely incredible that you found someone like that because that's very rare nowadays.
I know, I love her. I'm willing to share a little bit, but we keep some mentor out there. Um, so what advice would you give to other minority women who feel the pressure to assimilate or really downplay parts of their identity at work?
Sure. I would say don't do that. So, don't assimilate,
Oh,
don't change who you are, but know who you are. Know who you are and what you want, what you'll tolerate and what you won't tolerate. Know your standards and your morals and stand on that. Even if it means, like you said before, we were talking about if you have to leave or shift, because integrity is the most important thread throughout this. Your reputation, you can't get back. Like, you need to make sure that at the end of the day, that you're proud of the work that you've done and who you are, regardless of who they want you to be. And so, I have had multiple situations where I'm like, "I'm not comfortable doing that. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to lie. I'm not gonna do this." Like, I'm gonna be who I am, and if that means that I need to shift, or if that means that, you're not the company for me, or this is not the piece of business that's right for me, then I'm willing to do that because at the end of the day, your integrity speaks louder than anything. Your reputation precedes you.
mm,
And I, above all, want to be deemed a good person and be, very people be confident in that about me. So don't compromise who you are. Don't compromise your standards or your values. Don't shrink.
mm,
Any of that. Be confident in who you are. And it's okay if you're not like the status quo or
mhm,
what they deem because tomorrow you could be the status quo. You know what I'm saying? So like trends change and things change, but you should be authentically comfortable in who you are. And make sure you know that. Know yourself before you get into these situations. Um, and even before you move up, take some time to know what you want and know what you're willing to, compromise. Some things I'm not compromising on. I used to tell people all the time, like, my work-life balance is really important to me. I don't want to be called, 7 days a week. Like, listen, these are my times. And when you set up those boundaries up front,
mhm,
important. So I think that, don't be willing to sell your soul just to get ahead. That's not cute. We don't wanna do that. So I think that's the thing those are some of the things that I've used, and I think that's the advice that I would give is that you've got to know who you are moving around these, because otherwise people will tell you who you are. And then when you look in the mirror, you won't even recognize yourself. And that's not the move. That's not how we want to operate.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love that you just brought up so many gems. Oh my gosh. So in terms of knowing yourself and boundaries, um, and could you talk a little bit more about um, how you've verbalized or shared your boundaries with others?
Oh, absolutely. So I feel like, and also too, we talk about this too, being a woman. I think that there's certain things that we don't have to accept. I've made it very clear after certain times I don't answer the phone. I think
Mhm,
it's important for us to have boundaries. After a certain time, I don't answer my email because I think that it's getting into your personal time. But I also think some things are just not appropriate. Like some things can wait till tomorrow. And
mhm,
when you set the boundaries, people will automatically respect it. If you're just available anytime and
mhm,
you're free every time they call, then you become less valuable. And so, no, there are certain times on the weekends, I'll let them know, like, if it's an emergency, you can text me. I will
mhm,
answer when I can. But I'm not glued to this, and I also made my family a priority,
mhm,
as well, and, whether you have kids or whether you don't, like, it's important that I'm present for my husband, it's important I'm present for myself. My mental health needs a break. So,
mhm,
I've made it very clear just by saying, like, "Listen, this is what I'm willing to do, this is what I'm not willing to do," you know? And I've had to learn the take it or leave it type of, um, verbiage, and I'm okay with that. I'm confident enough and I have proven my work enough and my
mhm,
worth enough for your company that it's like I can demand certain things. And I think we don't ever feel people demand so much from us, but then we feel like we can't demand anything back. Like, listen, you see, I'm a good worker. I show up when I am, I'm on time, I come to the meetings. So
mhm,
on the weekends or after a certain time, I won't be able to get back to you until,
mhm,
and so I think I've learned that because I compromising your peace and
mhm,
compromising your time, it doesn't get you any further. So sometimes people feel like, oh, if I'm available 24/7, then I'll get that promotion, or you won't. It's just like the end of the day, you want to make sure that you are satisfied with your life. Like this is your life and what you make of it. So I make it clear up front, like I believe in a work-life balance. And if
mhm,
that's not important to the company, then that's not the company for you.
mhm. There's so many things I want to underscore, but I do want to just say that like you will be looked over for promotions even if you're available 24/7.
Exactly. Exactly, and they don't wanna tell you that because, of course, everyone they want everyone to work and do all this stuff, but
Mhm.
that's so true. If it's not for you, it's not for you, and if it's yours, and nothing can stand in the way of that.
And one of the other things that I think is really important just to add to this is there might be some people, maybe they're newer leaders, maybe they've been in leadership for a while, but there's some people that might be looking at the economy and being concerned because, oh, there might be different shifts and I really want to hold on to my position. I actually like where I am.
Well,
And maybe they treat me well and stuff like that. But still being able to hold those boundaries, um not being afraid to be let go, if that makes sense. And because of that fear, being available 24/7. Does that make sense?
it makes
Right?
sense,
Right.
but I think, like you said, people will respect people that respect themselves, and that's what we
When
have to remember. When you respect yourself, then people respect you automatically, and yes, it's uncomfortable in the beginning. I'm not gonna act like it's just easy peasy, and I'm not even gonna act like I've learned this overnight, like, it's trial and error, but, yeah, when you respect yourself and you put up those boundaries, it's uncomfortable because especially if everyone else is doing it, right? If everyone else is on call and everyone else is picking up the phone and everyone else, but people really will respect you, and they'll also see you as valuable. If you just give everything away, we talk about this in dating, we talk about this in like, just give it all up at the beginning, you're like, "Then what is there to work for?" Like, you know what? We respect Daniela above all. That's what matters to me. We respect her time, and that matters to me more. So, yes, I understand it can be scary, and it's uncomfortable, but, people will definitely respect you if you respect yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self who's just starting out in leadership, what would it be?
I would tell her, "Don't worry about people's opinions." I am learning that and in my 30s, and I feel like it's a constant struggle, but I would say that early on so I could have tackled it. Like, don't worry about the people's opinion because everyone's gonna have an opinion, and I've heard someone say before that the most people and you're not people don't form opinions to you until you're successful. When you're doing things that sometimes people are jealous of or they wish they could do or things like that. Like, stop worrying about people. Don't worry about
Mhm.
the crowd. Don't, go for it. Just go for it. And so I would tell myself that I was very self-conscious about what people thought about me, the moves that I was making, just this look a pleasing, people pleasing, like none of that. Don't do any of that. Stop worrying about, and even now I have to tell myself,
Mhm.
Daniela, stop worrying about what people think. Like, either do it for you or don't
Mhm.
do it at all. Like, do what makes you happy, do what's authentically you, and be yourself. And so I would say those are the things that I would definitely tell my younger self. It's just be who you are. And again, like we all talked about this whole time, it's easier said than done.
Mhm.
Definitely
Mhm.
something that we're constantly, working at. But for me, I definitely I would be like, girl, if they don't matter, because they don't. They don't. Where are they now? I don't know.
Well, I love that you're sharing that's a journey, right? Like it's, you said that sometimes it still creeps up, but it's something that you still have to mentally talk to yourself and say, don't worry about it. So thank you for sharing that, but also the fact that, you might slip in doing that. You might slip in being on this journey of not people pleasing, if that makes sense. And so it's okay. It's
It
okay.
won't. And we all get insecure, right?
Mhm.
Being in this business and oftentimes not having that support or that community or, not knowing. Sometimes we're the first in our role.
Mhm.
I've had a couple of roles that were created for me, or not really having kind of everything lined out for you. You're kind of just trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
And that's what happens with me all the time, opening hotels and things like that. Like, I'm oftentimes the blueprint, right? I'm trying to figure out, get my footing, navigate. So we all get insecure, but you have to have a constant conversation with yourself. We cannot let our insecurities stop us
Yeah.
from being great and from doing what we accomplish to do. Don't let it get in the way. Be afraid, but like we say, do it afraid anyway. And
Mhm.
so I've learned that like it's a constant struggle. I told myself that today. There was things that happen that come up, and I'm like, all right, Daniela, move past this. We've gotta move. We gotta move past this. You might be, in your feelings for a little bit, but just don't stay there. Don't get stuck there. It's
Yeah.
not worth it.
Yeah. Well, what's one habit or mindset shift that leaders listening today can adopt to lead more authentically starting tomorrow?
Ooh, that's a good one. Um, I mean, I think it's a little bit about everything that we've talked about. But I think it's that you can acknowledge where you are and you can be better tomorrow. Like, don't let your today stop your tomorrow. Like, acknowledge, yes, I have weaknesses. I want to work on this. I want to work on boundaries. I want to work on my standards. I want to be well respected, but work towards it. Acknowledge it and don't let it hinder you from the next. And hone in on who you are, what you represent, and what you want to give to the world. You're writer of your story. You can shape your narrative and make sure that you are portraying what you want others people to see. But I would say acknowledge where you are now, do a good assessment of where you want to be, and then it's okay to go after it. Don't apologize for wanting better, for wanting more, for wanting that raise, for wanting that managerial position, for wanting to go back to school. Don't apologize for that. Just do it. You do it. You map it out, you plan it, and go after it.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Love your
Danielle, it's been such a pleasure having you on this show today. If people want to connect with you on LinkedIn or Instagram, how can they find you?
Sure, yeah. I'm on LinkedIn, Daniela Benton Young, on Instagram, Daniela B. Young, Facebook, all that. So yes, please connect with me. I love talking about these things and networking groups, all of that. So yes, let's connect, let's talk, and let's thrive. Let's win.
Absolutely. And let us know in the comments below what you really liked about this show, what you really liked from what Danielle shared today. And tag us as you as you implement things, as you try things out, let us know. Let Daniela know. Like, hey, Daniela, I tried this out and worked really well. Well, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Seasons and Stewardship podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.